At my birthday dinner, my 8-year-old niece threw my $2,400 camera off the balcony and laughed when it shattered. Even after I showed the Ring doorbell footage, my sister and brother-in-law said I was overreacting. The next day, my mom taught them a lesson they're still talking about. I was showing my uncle the photos from my trip to Iceland when I heard the sliding door open behind me. I turned just in time to see Sienna standing at the balcony railing, my Canon R5 in both hands, grinning at me. "Catch, Uncle Nathan," she said, and threw it over the edge. The sound of it hitting the concrete 3 stories down felt like a punch to the stomach. Shattered glass, cracked plastic, 6 years of saving, gone in 3 seconds. I stood there, frozen, unable to process what just happened. Sienna threw her head back and laughed, not a nervous laugh, a full, proud laugh. Then she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Oops." She was 8 years old. My sister Claire and her husband Trevor had been staying at Mom's place for 2 months after their rental fell through. Sienna had free reign of everything. Every time I told her my camera bag was off limits, Trevor would wave me off. "Nathan, she's curious. That's how kids learn." I walked back inside, my hands trembling with rage but keeping my voice level. "Sienna needs to apologize. Now." Sienna ran to Claire and buried her face in her side. "I didn't mean to." I explained what happened. The camera, the balcony, the laugh, everything. Claire's face tightened. "Nathan, she said it was an accident. Why are you attacking her?" Trevor just crossed his arms. "You shouldn't have left it where she could reach it." I pulled out my phone and showed them the Ring doorbell footage. Crystal clear. Sienna opening my camera bag, picking up the camera, walking to the balcony, throwing it with both hands, laughing. Claire watched, her jaw clenched, then looked away. "She's 8, Nathan. She doesn't understand how expensive that is." Trevor leaned forward. "Honestly, if you cared about it that much, you should have locked it up." That's when I snapped. "Are you serious? You watched her throw it and you're blaming me?" The dining room went dead silent. My mom, sitting at the head of the table, hadn't said a word, but her knuckles were white around her fork. Trevor stood up. "What are you implying, Nathan? That we're bad parents?" Before I could respond, Mom's voice cut through the room like ice. "Everyone, sit down." The room froze. Mom turned to Sienna and said firmly, "Sienna, what you did was wrong. Apologize to your uncle." Sienna said nothing. Claire leaned over and whispered, "You don't have to, baby. He's just upset." Mom's jaw tightened. She pushed back her chair and left the table without another word. The next morning, Mom called everyone to the living room before breakfast. The tension from last night still hung thick. Sienna sat on the couch, glued to her iPad Pro, swiping through videos like nothing had happened. Mom walked over, took the iPad from her hands without warning, and dropped it into the kitchen sink. She turned on the garbage disposal. The grinding, crunching sound filled the entire house. Claire screamed, "Mom, what are you doing?" Before Trevor could move, Mom turned to me and nodded. I stepped forward, looked Claire straight in the eye, and said slowly, "Oops." Cold, direct, unwavering. Trevor's face went pale. "Are you out of your mind?" Sienna burst into tears, running to her mother. Mom stepped into the center of the room, her voice calm but deadly. "How does that feel?" "That feeling is exactly what Nathan carried last night." Claire pulled the mangled iPad from the sink, hands shaking. "Mom, that iPad cost $900. That's our property." Mom's voice didn't waver. "And Nathan's camera was just trash?" She froze. "I'm calling Dad." "Go ahead," Mom said. "And while you're at it, tell him what your daughter did to Nathan's camera." The room went silent. That night, Claire finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think we need to get her help. Real help." Trevor nodded, looking broken. "There's a program for kids with behavioral issues." Mom looked at me. "Nathan, find one." 2 weeks later, we drove Sienna to the facility. She cried the entire way, begging Claire to take her home. Claire stared out the window, tears streaming down her face. When the doors closed behind Sienna, I felt hollow. It wasn't revenge. It was the wake-up call she'd never gotten. 11 months later, everything changed. Claire and Trevor moved into their own place. They stopped defending and started parenting. Sienna sent me a package with a handwritten card. "Dear Uncle Nathan, I'm so sorry for what I did. I was wrong. I saved my allowance. It's not much, but it's a start." Inside was $47 in crumpled bills. Since then, no more tantrums, no more destruction. Every Sunday, I pick her up and we go to the park. She brings her disposable camera. I bring my new DSLR and we take photos together.